Okay.
6 o'clock, call us meeting to order. Roll call.
Commissioner Connor?
Here.
Commissioner Cordell?
Here.
Commissioner Powell? Here. Commissioner Lockley?
Here.
Commissioner Moore?
Here.
Mayor Black?
Present. Ms. Lockley, would you like to do an indication of this meeting? I would.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We pray your guidance in this meeting and everything is said and done. Lord, we pray especially for the Hudson family. Lord, we pray that you'd be with them, wrap your arms around them, Lord, in this time of need and the loss of Mr. Bill. These asked in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay, we need a vote for the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Second.
Effie. All in favor? So carried. All right. Closure number 1. Is this where you take over?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. With enclosure number 1, I have provided a summary of all of the changes from the prior year fiscal budget. That includes line item changes, increases, decreases to some line items. And I would be glad to answer any questions that the commissioners may have, and also to get your input and guidance on how you would like to proceed with the 2020-2021 budget. I would like to start with the general fund. With the general fund, revenues have increased from $785,000 to $850,000. This is for ad valorem taxes, and this is based off a 3-year average as well as the revow from Gaston County with property taxes. So we are moving that up some in order to account for those increases. Also, in this general fund revenue, we're looking at garbage fees increasing to $12 per month for 2 cans. That would bring an additional, if we would go from $165,000 to $230,000. Now, these recommendations for rate increases and utility increases were made prior to the current pandemic that we are in. It's the board's discretion as how you would like to proceed. If you would like to move towards any type of increases, if we want to postpone, but we can talk about that a little later on. Also with sales tax, it's up in the air right now. It's very difficult to know what's going to happen with the economy. The League of Municipality School of Government has all recommended that we conservatively project those revenues, which we have done. I've used an average of the last 3 years as well for these projections to get us close to what we've been at the past few years, and also trying not to over project that, so to show that we're bringing in more than we actually will. The fund balance for the general fund is decreasing by about 66% this year. This is due to no garbage trucks being purchased. We had some large purchases last year that required a significant amount of funds from the fund balance to be allocated, as showing that we're going to take it out. It's difficult, impossible to say right now how much we've taken out to date. We would have to do some final budget amendments in June and then come back to the board with a rough approximation of how much that we have taken out. Prior to pandemic, sales taxes were very strong. We were having a very good year. Money was coming in very well with sales tax. We are a couple months behind with receiving reports, so it's difficult to say the short-term effects of the sales tax, but I'm confident these numbers are strong enough to sustain us at least through the first quarter, and then to go back in and make some general rearrangements on those. With administration, in that particular department, the property and liability line item has been moved to non-departmental. It's difficult to project where we're going to have issues with property and liability, so we're moving into non-departmental, and then after the first quarter or two, we will do some internal budget amendments to move it as it's needed in each individual department. The governing body is a new department that I have added in this particular budget that has not been in the years prior. This is where the Board of Commissioners' salary and the attorney fees will be included, as so to be able to clarify which line items are being allocated to which employees and which staff. So this is the new line item, and as some early discussions that we had, this included a cost of living adjustments for the mayor and commissioners. I've recommended a structure similar to what Cramerton does. This, of course, will be at your discretion if you want to move forward with any type of increase. In this particular budget, we provided for a $350 monthly salary to the mayor and $250 monthly salary to the board. Again, this is just recommendation, and the final decision will rest with you all. And also, there had been some interest from commissioners about having the availability of healthcare insurance in this budget. The budget does provide for that option. If the board would like to pursue that, we can certainly do that. If not, we can certainly make those adjustments accordingly. So that brings to Parks and Recreation. I do want to spend a moment on this because there's been a lot of talk about renovations to the lodge. The money that we've allocated is not to demolish the lodge or to do any type of comprehensive removal of the property, as has been rumored and talked about. This is just for a feasibility study to start the renovation efforts, to get the necessary permits, and to get a good blueprint moving forward in order to have a clear path of renovations for the lodge. And in no way is meant to be any type of demolition or demolition fee. We do provide for a salary for a new recreation director at Parks and Rec. Prior to this year, it had been split amongst departments coming out of administration. This is just cleaner, clearer, more transparent which salaries are coming from which department. Fireworks are going to be contracted out, and assuming that we are able to proceed with the fireworks show this year. I'm confident that we will be able to look at what some other municipalities are doing. Some are really just touch and go at this point, so that'll be a matter for further discussion. But as far as the budget is concerned, that expenditure has decreased to $4,500 from the original $7,000 from last fiscal year. In the police budget, we have budgeted for a new police vehicle. That's going to be a $25,000 expenditure, and a new full-time officer position is included in this budget. It would be my recommendation that we do not hire immediately, that we reevaluate that perhaps in December, January, mid-fiscal year, to see how the sales taxes are coming in, to see how the budget is shaping up. But I would like to at least put in a preventative plan, or start looking at the possibility of having those funds budgeted for, even if we decide at a later date that they're not needed. I've also included some overtime line items in each department. Up until now, it's just been adjusted based on general salaries. I would like to have a little bit more specificity as to where the overtime hours are going towards, so we can be more accountable with that. Moving on to Public Works. Up until this year, Public Works employees and employees in the utility fund have been split amongst departments. In this budget, I have moved certain employee salaries into certain departments. In Public Works, we have 5 employees, and a new lawnmower is budgeted for the capital outlay item. Also, an overtime line item has been included in Public Works as well. As far as sanitation, we are looking at exploring the options of moving back to waste management. Waste management has presented us a very fair, competitive price to do our dumping there. There's been some issues with the distance between the town of Ranlo and the landfill, which you have to take into consideration wear and tear, employee time, fuel. I would like to explore moving back to waste management, at least for a short period of time in this fiscal year, to see how that pans out. And then, of course, if things seem not to be going in the direction that we hope, we can make a decision on that at a later date. Also, in sanitation, the overtime line item has been included. I've also included a non-departmental department. That's something that was not included in the prior fiscal year budget. This is just really a catch-all department where various miscellaneous expenses are included that are not specific to only one department. For example, workers' compensation, property liability, and drug testing are included here. Workers' compensation is difficult to know who will get hurt, if anyone will get hurt, and what department they will be in. So as opposed to splitting that amongst all the departments, I'm putting the entire premium in this department and then allocating it accordingly as needed, hopefully not needed in the upcoming fiscal year. $50,000 is allocated in non-departmental to water tower restoration. I met with some engineers the week before last, and they had recommended that we reach out to utility services to see about potentially refurbishing one of our water tanks, not only to make it more visually appealing, but to have a backup water supply if we were to have a difficult situation present itself that we're not able to get water from Gastonia if we have to turn the line off for maintenance and repair. So I would like to move forward with looking at engineering reports and then doing some, of course, necessary visual aids or visual repair to the water tower. Also, $50,000 is allocated for town hall, police department, engineering, and renovation studies. With the volunteer fire department leaving our facilities later this year, perhaps, we would like to move forward with seeing what type of refurbishing options, multiple options to come to the board to see what would be the best course moving forward with renovations to this building, what would be the most cost-effective way to move forward with looking at getting more space for the police department and more space here for town hall. So that is all for the general fund, and I know I'm moving quickly, so I will take a breath, take a pause to see if you all have any questions, concerns, or issues with anything that's been presented in the general fund.
So the lodge, the $20,000 is just for the study?
Not necessarily, no, ma'am. The money would be originally allocated towards the study, and then money that's left over moving forward with what the study has produced, what type of blueprint we have moving forward. I hope that we'll be able to start some renovations, as I believe you and I talked about. It's like we have a very talented workforce and very skilled workers. I hope that we will be able to handle some of the smaller things in-house, but at least being able to know that we have the permits in order and that we have a end goal at the beginning instead of just going in and beginning, taking up the floor where there may be asbestos, or going in and changing things without having a step 1, step 2, and step 3 in place. So it would be initially for study and then moving towards those renovations.
I know a lot of people don't even mess with that tile, they just go over top of it.
Right.
Because it does have asbestos,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Don't mess with it. Yeah, the governing body salary increase,
And that would be the discretion, of course.
that would, probably wouldn't sit well right now, I don't think. If that's something maybe like the middle of the year, find out which way the economy's going. If it continues to decline or whatever, that might be a better idea. Healthcare coverage for the board also. That's something that, at five grand?
Around 6 right now, but we have not received the final insurance premium renewal from the insurance company, so that could fluctuate. Thank you. And in that, Mr. Mayor, on that same note, I included for two commissioner premiums for insurance. I wanted to poll you, number 1, to see if you wanted to move forward with including that, number 2, to see who would be interested, who would not, so that we could have an active number. I believe there's 12,000.
And of course, you won't know how much that would cost until you get the figures back from the insurance.
That's correct, yes, ma'am, and I hope to have those by the end of this month. And that will probably, depending on how late it comes in, it may need a first quarter budget amendment to reflect those premium changes, because we haven't received the final renewal of the insurance company just yet.
You said we was on a different schedule than everybody else did.
We are typically, local governments have their insurance premiums in April, May, as ordered, so to be able to budget accordingly. For some reason, Ranlo and some other municipalities are on a different staggered schedule, where it's usually May, June before those premiums are received, with coverage beginning in August as opposed to July.
I got a question on the citation. You said that thing about change to the voices closed. When will that change take place?
We've received clearance today that we are set up in their system. I would like to do kind of a pilot exploratory program right now to see how well it goes. So I think that we have the money currently to move forward with another month and a half trying it out, and that way we could have a better understanding and a better accurate projection of how much it's going to cost come July. So we are clear today to move forward and immediately. It's just a matter of seeing how that convenience factor weighs in with the factor.
And you're sort of held to the fact that you don't have the inmates,
Yes, sir.
we don't know how long that's going to be.
I signed the renewal yesterday with the prison to include the 2020-2021 contract with prisoners. I asked them at that time. They're hoping for May 16th, but at this point, it's still very much up in the air.
That would knock about, an hour off, or 2 maybe, right? You have to sit in line over there sometimes. You don't care airlines, no trouble.
Right. And the wear and tear on the 2 brand new garbage trucks. And serve them all to them long.
Yeah. Best.
As far as the general fund goes, the mayor raised concern about raising healthcare insurance. Do we want to discuss that as a group, or how do you all want to move forward with that, so that we have an accurate number to reflect?
That brings us in line with other municipalities.
That's identical to Cramerton would pay, based on the numbers that I saw.
Does all municipalities carry insurance for their,
No, ma'am. It varies. I reached out to, I sent a message out to the listserv for the city and county managers polling municipalities. It really varies. It's the board's discretion. Each town is different. There's no real consistent practice. Some do, some don't.
there is a deductible for the insurance, right? For the health insurance, there's a deductible, pretty hefty.
That the town pays.
The town pays the deductible.
The town pays the deductible. There's no cost to healthcare employees if I'm not sick.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if they have a severe situation, an operation or something, you know, we figure that it's not gonna happen, maybe one or two. The deduction, if we pay it, it's a lot better than paying the high premiums of a small deduction.
Right.
So is there a copay going to the doctor and stuff like that?
There's copay. Yes.
Okay.
It's 20 gloves, I think, something like that. And medicines is $4 to $5.
So what was the approximate cost per employee?
In this fiscal year, it was budgeted around $6,000. Around $6,000 per year for each.
That would be adding on quite a bit of money for, if we added all commissioners, would it not?
Right, and we could look at a hybrid approach. It could be as needed or as wanted. Commissioners wouldn't have to opt into it. Or there could be some provisions that a stipend could be paid. If not, I would recommend that if we are going to do it, it would just be on an as needed basis and not provide any additional expenditure just based on need. Would be my recommendation. Of course, I would rest it. So do we have consensus with continuing as is with that or making adjustments?
I would not want the insurance.
Or just for you?
Just for me, I would not want.
I'm okay with continuing as is often.
To opt in?
I would not personally opt in, but to allow it.
No. You would not want it or you're opposed to make?
No, I would not want it.
So just as before for now, I'll just leave it as is in the budget, and then we can work out final details based on who wants it at a later time. As far as the pay increase, I would like consensus on that, or on board, how do you feel about that?
I would not want it.
Okay.
Are we not gonna ask for a raise on, garbage or something this year?
Yes, ma'am. That, the original recommendation was that we would move to a tier, increase water and sewer billing and an increase in garbage. With the way things currently are with the economy, with state affairs, that's a difficult call to make. I was gonna bring that for tonight to see what your thoughts on it were, and it's no problem at all on my end to change the numbers around to base the revenues on a rate increase or not.
Gastonia's we got a rate increase with Gastonia, right?
Yes, and I confirmed that last week, that they are still planning to move forward with 5% this year and a likely another 4% in the next 2 or 3 years.
So what are you looking that are you proposing that we would raise for our residents?
Right. What line?
Move on into that.
I can move to that right now, absolutely. That is on the second quote that I have. What I had originally recommended moving forward with was a pay for what you use system, as opposed to having just a 1,000-gallon minimum and one pays for 1,000 gallons, whether you use it or not. Moving toward a tiered system where you only pay for what you use. To begin with, every resident would pay a base fee for water and base fee for sewer. For purposes of this recommendation, I put in $4 for water and $4 for sewer. That's just to cover base charges, wear and tear on the line, Currently, it's $464 total for water and sewer, which is incredibly low based on other studies I've looked at and neighboring municipalities. So what I was looking at is 4 for water, 4 for sewer, and then gradually increasing based on how much you use. This would ensure that those who use the least, your single widow or your elderly couple, that are only using 800 to 1,200 gallons each month, don't bear the burden of an overall rate increase of a working class family that has 3 children that are using 8, 9, 10,000 gallons. So I have put together a recommended tiered billing structure. This can be amended based on the board's wishes. This can be amended, reduced, put on hold. It would be at your discretion. My biggest concern is, in order to be eligible for any grants for infrastructure, we have to charge $33 for 5,000 gallons of sewer, or 5,000 gallons of water and 5,000 gallons of sewer. We are currently very, very close to that. We are 32 and some change. With this rate increase structure, it would put us around $33 and a nickel, $33.10 for 5,000 gallons. That would put us at a eligibility of a 25% grant from the state for these for any type of major infrastructure comprehensive repairs that we may need in the future. That's my overall goal here. The enterprise fund, utility fund has been slowly going down over the past few years. That's just normal wear and tear of the lines. The lines are dated, of course, and we've had to sustain several increases from the city of Gastonia when we did not go up on rates. So that has put us behind and to a certain disadvantage moving forward. But we do need the additional revenue in order to upkeep these lines, but we also need to adjust these rates in order to be eligible for grants moving forward. So this was my original recommendation. It can be tweaked, changed based on the board's wishes and how you'd like to proceed forward. That under table will be on budget overview of capital outlay projects and recommendations.
How does this stack up against other municipalities?
It's very competitive, particularly with Lowell. Lowell is a little bit ahead of us. It really depends on a number of factors. You look at places that have their own water and sewer plant, like Mount Holly, like Cherryville, they're able to offer a lower rate because they're able to set their own rates. Whereas we're held at a different standard because we're buying directly from Gastonia. But it's very competitive for cities, towns, the same size as Ranlo, and very competitive with our neighboring municipalities. And I believe I've provided a chart, and I'll be glad to provide that to all of you again, that shows how much 1,000 gallons in Ranlo would cost if you were in Mount Holly or if you were in Cherryville or in Lowell. So I think that it's competitive. It puts us a little over in some tiers and a little under in others. But I would be remiss to not point out that this would be a difficult decision to make now. It would be a difficult decision to make any time, but unfortunately, it's a necessary one given the fact that we are going to have to sustain likely, certainly a 5% increase and probably somewhere in the 9%.
On the, our biggest water user would have to be the ice plant.
No, they don't think ice there no more.
They don't? Oh,
They've been doing it for years.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they stopped doing that, they ship it in now.
So then our biggest would be Bill
Big
manufacturing.
manufacturer or American manufacturer.
And that could be an option we look at as having a residential rate versus a commercial or industrial rate. I would caution about going too fast. I think if we started off as under the tiered system across the board, and then maybe I would say next year that we were implementing maybe a second phase where we charge a different rate for industry, a different rate for commercial, based on where the numbers come in. And once we see how well this is working and it's generating the necessary revenue.
Impact on businesses. We're still at what, 10,000 gallons? I mean, I don't know what Bill manufacturers use, but that's still, we're looking at an increase around $274 a year. That's not awful bad. It's different.
Particularly if they were a mile down the road, it would be at least that or more, depending on if they were outside.
Yeah, we don't want to, encourage anybody to move out of our township. This is based on the water.
I think this will be the least impact on the citizens going with this tiered structure.
Yeah.
Than just sitting and raising the rates altogether. Like you said, if they don't use 800 gallons, they'll pay them 800 gallons.
Correct.
So
It would result in an overall increase for all consumers, but those who use the least are going to pay the least. least, and those who use more are going to pay.
It also encourages, conservation.
Correct. Which is one of the things that state agencies look at. They're looking at your rates if you are gradually going, and they have a certain point system where you would get more points if you did have some type of conservation policy, which this would of course entail. And I'm so sorry.
Is it possible that, I guess, would we still be competitive with grants if we chose to defer the rate raise? We approve raising the rates, but defer until, maybe January 1st.
It's my understanding of the grant process with these type of grants that they would look at your rates as of the deadline of the grant application. So if you were looking at a grant that was going to expire October 31st, they would look at your rates effective that date, is my understanding of that process. Now, of course, one of the things that the grant agencies are going to look at are the last 3 years fiscal audits. So those are going to take some time to complete. And it could be if the board did not want to move forward with rate increases now that we can put it in effect at such time that we are competitive to apply for grants at the completion of the last 3 years fiscal audits. If there was some type of, if you wanted to pursue a postponement plan, that would be what I would believe would be most practical.
I'm not sure that with as many people who lost their jobs and with the economy kind of taking such a large hit right now, that it feels like we're kind of adding an extra punch when a lot of people are already down. So I don't think that.
No, I understand completely.
I don't know that the timing's right. I know that we need to have the increase, and we should, because we can't keep any more cost increases on us. But at the same time, I feel like it would be probably the right thing to delay by at least a few months.
So you're
until
saying
the
if we-
economy picks back up.
If we adopt this increase and just put a hold on it until the audits are done, we can apply for it, and then we'll start from there. We can implement this there.
We could, and two, we wouldn't be adopting the fee schedule tonight. This was just to gauge your interest in order to actively project the next year's budget. We can adopt the fee schedule, say in July, and that will give us a better understanding of where the economy is going, and at such time, we can make a decision of whether we want to raise them or if we want to postpone. So, if the board is agreeable, we'll continue with, I'll lower these projections some in the utility fund, just in case we do decide that we are going to postpone. And then we will present the budget with those reduced numbers. And then if we decide we want to adjust in June or July, we can move forward with that.
The percentage that they're raising us on is, we need to cover that at least.
And
When does their, increase go into effect?
July 1.
July 1 fiscal year.
And with this tier 6, we're going to bring in approximately $30,000 in additional revenue for water and approximately conservative, low end, 10 to 12,000 sewer revenue. So the availability charges would be where the biggest money would come in for the revenue, the utility fund, because currently, like I said, everyone pays $4.64. They would be paying $8 for water and sewer. That would increase by about $65,000 in revenue, which would help with some of those much needed repairs for infrastructure. So, connection fees have also been strong. I did a average of the last 3 years for this projection, and that I did increase that by $55,000 in this new budget to account for the prior year changes and decreases that we've gradually seen on the past few years.
I do have one more question, garbage rates.
Yes.
How does that compare to other municipalities?
I'm not aware, based on my research, I've not been able to find any municipality that charges $9 for 2 cans for operations a week. That is a very good service that, if we were able to sustain it, if we were able to justify it based on revenues, that I would love to continue, but unfortunately, that's not feasible. What I was looking at was $12 for 2 cans, which is still relatively low based on places like Lowell that charges significantly more than that. But as we are in the midst of a pandemic and we're going through difficult times, it may be that we could continue with offering to pick up $12 total per month. And then if you did not want that second can to come to town hall and maybe sign out your second can, we can remove it, and then you could continue under $9 for 1 can. That would be one option.
Yeah, that sounds feasible.
I know that my family needs 2 cans because there's 5 of us, but not everybody
For the utility fund balance allocation is approximately 21% less than the prior fiscal year. That is including some of those rate adjustments and increases. So that will be, I'm confident fund balance will be less. It just may be lesser than 21 once we finish everything. Also in the utility fund, I've added an admin and engineering section. This is a new department that provides for administrative salaries and general infrastructure needs, whereas something may bleed over between water and sewer that you need to allocate some money for. I put some money there. That's where I had $1,000 to apply for an asset inventory and assessment from the Division of Water Infrastructure. If we fund 10% for this grant, that would put us eligible for $150,000 grant for the division in order to examine and research these water infrastructure needs. So I would like to proceed forward with having that in the recommended budget. Sewer purchases have been increased by 5% and increased based on the average 3 years of consumption from what residents here in Ranlo have used based on what we've been billed from the city of Gastonia. That, of course, is difficult to project because people move in, people move out. A year ago, we would have never been able to project that people would be at home as much as they have lately with those additional water usages and additional sewer usages. So it has a 5% increase, and 3 employees are included in this department solely. The same for water, 5% increase based on average 3 years, and 3 employees also included there. I've also included a non-departmental for the utility fund where the various miscellaneous expenses are again included that are not specific to one department. Again, workers' compensation, property and liability, drug testing, where it doesn't make sense to put them all in one individual department, a catch-all department. That is the conclusion of everything that I have an overview for the utilities. If you all have any questions, suggestions, input, or if not, we can move to the PAL bill. I have been in discussion with several engineers to get us an updated PAL bill map. Based on my conversations with them, I think that we will be bringing in more money once we accurately reflect new streets and roads that we have taken in. Currently, we get $96,000 from the state PAL bill to keep up roads and streets here in Ranlo. In this budget, I've allocated $80,000 in maintenance and repairs of streets. As many of you know, that is a hot button issue. A lot of complaints come through about potholes, about issues with the streets and roads. So we have a very healthy fund balance in the PAL bill account. We have over $300,000 that's included in our savings account for the PAL bill that's not paid from previous years. So I think that this is certainly a manageable expenditure that we can include, and it's also 54% less than the prior fiscal year for the fund balance allocation that I budgeted for in the PAL bill. And stormwater is essentially the same, except I haven't included any employees here. I've moved into other positions as so not to take anything or to project that we would run any type of loss in the stormwater fund.
So, man, do you see anything in the stormwater fund?
Only,
Or is it?
yes, sir. We have in there department supplies and postage. We're only projecting that we're going to use $27,000 out of the stormwater fund, whereas we're projecting to bring about $60,000 in revenue. So anything over that, we would of course just allocate back to the state. Okay. If there are no other questions about specifics, I would like to just briefly touch on the capital outlay projects that we had included in the budget. Those are the larger scale projects that are over $5,000 that I've worked with the department heads and that I've garnered some of your input about what you would like to do with that. And again, some of these I've already been over, but I did want to reiterate just in case there was any type of disagreement or any type of consensus that was needed on these projects. One, of course, is the engineering study for town hall. One is, of course, the Ranlo water tank restorations. The $20,000 to research plan and implement the Ranlo lodge renovations. $5,000 for a new police vehicle. $10,000 for a new lawnmower, $15,000 for the grant infrastructure and asset improvements, and then $80,000 for streets and repairs. Those are the major purchases, the larger ones across all department. I did want to at least bring those to your attention in case there was some issue, concern, or question on those. In case you saw one line item, thought it seemed a little out of line from practice.
How many police vehicles do we currently have?
Chief, you know, 11.
We have 11 officers to those, so no spare.
So if we were to go forward with hiring a consultant, they have no vehicle.
Vehicles at all.
Those are everywhere.
I still have to drive home, vehicle drive home.
Yes,
Is that all right?
yes, sir. It works very well because of like shooting we had the other night. Had to call officers in instead of them having to come here and get a call together, get the equipment together. They can come straight from home to where we need them.
So just to recap what we've talked about tonight, we're gonna proceed as is with the recommended budget, just making minor adjustments for those revenues that would for utility increase that may or may not happen depending on what happens over the next few months. So it is comfortable moving forward with at least preliminarily approving funding these major projects. We will plan for a healthcare insurance addition for certain commissioners. And we also will proceed with the planned garbage collection fee increase, $12 for 2 cans per month, with the option for residents to sign out that second can and the town to pick that up. Wonderful. Thank you all so much. That's all I have to form budget presentations.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Platt. I'll stop. No more questions from commissioners? Have a motion to adjourn the subject meeting,
Make such motion.
and second.
Second.
All in favor? This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you all so much. Good break. Back to it.
Yeah. You ordered things? Oh, ordered that.
This one.